And a very good morning to everybody, and welcome to Ask X Factor Live, brought to you by the X Factor Collective. So I'm delighted to introduce you all today to Ruth, who's worked in philanthropy both here in Australia and internationally for the last 20 years. Ruth is a foundation member of the X Factor Collective and a governance and philanthropy specialist consultant and mentor. Up until 2 years ago, Ruth, you were running Social Venture Partners International for 10 years from Seattle. And for those that don't know, that's the world's largest network of engaged donors, some 3,400 members across 40 chapters around the world. Ruth, can you share us a bit about your background and some of the highlights from your philanthropy career so far?
Thank you, Julia. I started off as a journalist, so it's been a very winding path to working in philanthropy, but I made the jump to the non-profit sector as director of the Australian Film Institute, where that was my first real involvement with members, donors, sponsors. I learned a lot from that. I went from there to Philanthropy Australia, where I engaged with established foundations, people who were establishing foundations, companies and their CSR arms, and non-profit organisations. And from there and of course that was a period in the early 2000s when the Australian Community Foundation movement was really getting off the ground. I found that a fabulous initiative, the growth of Australian community foundations, and I went from here to work for Community Foundations of Canada, which is a very substantial network and a major player in that country's social sector. And from there to Seattle to work for Social Venture Partners International, where my job was to work with a network of very engaged donor circles across many cities. By the time I left, about 40 cities in about 8 countries. And over the course of that period, we did a lot of research, a lot of conversations with the people who joined Social Venture Partners, and that really contributed to me learning about what engaged donors were seeking from their giving and what that calls forth or requires, if you like, from the organisations to which they are giving.
I'm sure you would have seen a lot in your time.
Yes.
Yeah, great.
So I think that's just the overview. But so over the course of that time, I had many conversations with people who wanted to start Social Venture Partner chapters. Lots of conversations about, why do you want to do this? There are lots of opportunities that already exist to give and volunteer in your community. Why is it important for you that you want to establish a circle of donors very focused on giving and volunteering? And really the responses didn't really change much, even if it was a different country or a different continent or region of the world. People felt that they needed to do something meaningful.
Yes.
They wanted to be active, not passive, and they were very driven to do it in the company of their peers.
Right. Yes.
There was a real sense that I feel what I can do on my own is a drop in the bucket. But if there are 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or a couple of 100 of us doing this, then I really can start to feel that I'm making a difference. And for those people who established social venture partner groups around the world, it's a lot of work, but I feel that it's the most meaningful way in which I can contribute to my community.
Fantastic. Excellent. Well, we're lucky to have you, that's for sure. Well, Ruth, let's get into it, shall we? We've got some questions there. Welcome to those who have just joined us in the last couple of minutes. We're about to kick off into some questions now.